Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Greg Levsha, and welcome to RedmineUP Agile plugin webinar about managing your your projects in SCRUM and Kanban methodologies. I'll be your host. I will show you how to do the webinar, how to use the product. Hi, pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to be here with you today. I would like to know if you can actually hear me. Can you actually hear me? I would appreciate if you let me know in the chat section. And in meanwhile, I would like to know if you have already tried our Agile plugin, or have you ever seen maybe similar software? Because our plugin is used, for example, by Planio. Okay, nice. Let me say in the beginning, like a small disclosure, that I won't give you too much, let's say, general knowledge about Agile. There is so many resources. There is so many classes open and free and paid and like in every level that I just don't want to duplicate the content, and I don't want to like waste your time. I want to focus on the practicality of this webinar to show you how to use the product, how you can apply Agile methodologies, even if you don't want to go Agile, even if you not ready or not sure whether this is for you, or you just want to, you're looking for ways how to, let's say, optimize your project management in your team, in your company. Still, I want to focus on the things and features that you can use to work smarter, faster, and easier. Because I just want to give you like the most value in quickest possible time. Okay, so without further ado, let's head to our presentation. What I wanted to focus on first, if you have any points that you would like that I focus on, I would like that you mention them in the chat section so I'll be aware of them. That there are some parts of project management or part of the business requirements that you would like to have covered by the tool that you're looking for. By default, I will cover the points. What's different between Scrum and Kanban in these two approaches for project management? How you can run both in using Agile plugin for Redmine, how to configure boards, what are the settings possible, how to do smart planning, how to work faster, how be easier to like assign tasks, how to use different features for summary meeting, on everyday work, and basically for different roles, so for your team, for your manager, for a client, and so on. So without further ado, let's move. Let me share my screen with you. Let me just give me 1 second. I want to also start recording, so this webinar will be available if you'd like to refer to it later. Okay, so let's start. And every day, let's say you have a list of tasks already in your Redmine. So in Agile, there are two approaches. One is called Kanban, one is called Scrum. The main difference is that like Scrum is for team that want to focus on target deadlines and organize your list of tasks in small batches called sprints. They are like small buckets of tasks. So all your big project is cut down into pieces that you'll deliver in a small time-limited frames. Okay. In Kanban, you don't work without you work without deadlines. So basically, you don't have too much planning mode. You have plan mode at the beginning. You don't work on any given on deadlines as for project. You work on a continuous delivery. So you focus on prioritizing your tasks to deliver them as fast as possible. And this is the best approach for teams and for services So for teams that focus on support or service roles, or also for development teams, but that work on constant basis. So like you don't have to say focus on a target release before Friday. You just focus on like delivering as much task as possible and moving on as quick as possible. How we can have both actually. Let's start with some general like how can basically generally approach the planning. At the beginning, I will assume that you're before Agile, so you read few articles, some ebooks, maybe you joined few webinars, you watch some videos on YouTube or in other hosting service, maybe some other education platform, and just want to test it. So in the beginning, let's assume that you already have some tasks prepared. If not, I will let you know in a second how we can approach it. So in overall, once you have your tasks ready, you get the, actually, I have a better idea. Let's move on and create new projects so I can show you basically how to get started. As our role project, we'll use Agile. New project, okay. This approach actually can be also used for if you're managing traditional team. So you have one team of developers in your company. Maybe you're working on several projects for several clients at the same time. So you have limited resources. You want to know how to actually like manage this in particular. This case is actually used by our company because we have one developer team. As you know, we as RedmineUP focus on Redmine plugins and Redmine custom development. We currently have 15 plugins and one already in beta release, so soon we'll have 16 Redmine plugins. We have one team who manages like development, fixing bugs, improving performance for all the products at the same time. So how we do this? We have separated the we have one main project and few sub projects. So one development project and few assigned for each of the plugins. This can also be for your team. Used to have one main project, development, and one for each of the client or even of each of the projects that you're each of the products that you're delivering. Within this, what are the more important things? You have to create some version. Version in Redmine is a limited time frame deadline based part within which you want to deliver the issues. You want to finish your task. In Agile, in Scrum, as I mentioned earlier, you have the sprint. Sprint is a time limited, like a container of the tasks. Sprint usually takes from 2 to 4 weeks. This is the most useful and the most practical. You can also have maybe longer, maybe shorter. Shorter are not good because you won't be able to actually to get much done, and longer sprints are not good because your managers, your clients might push you that you include more and more tasks in the current sprint. So you can use version module to create your sprints. For our example, let's now just create a backlog. What is backlog? Backlog, it's like a container for all the tasks that you came up with for current project or for current product. If you're delivering, for example, physical product or something physical touch, you can have you can divide your backlog further for hardware backlog and software backlog, or regular backlog, and for example infrastructure backlog if you're running, for example, telecommunication services, or if you're web pages, you can have backlogs for, I don't know, for design, for an event, and so on. As you can see here, we have options for sharing. You can share we can share our container with different, so with our sub projects, with other projects. In this way, I mean, on default is the best way to share with sub projects. So if you have different people working in different tasks, so your team can focus on the ones, for example, by mistake assign tasks to someone else stack of work. You can add due date. So due date will help you to calculate agile charts, which will give you a metrics, for example, what would be, what's your velocity? So how fast are you closing issues? How fast are you closing tasks? Okay. So we are just configuring the project. Let's just get started with default setting. The most important thing is I'm just clicking to add default Redmine users. Okay, and one more thing. Now let's go to the setting of Agile plugin. As you can see, those settings are available in a separate point in administration in the settings. Here you can choose whether you want to use color for statuses, whether what's the limit of the point of the task that you want to see on the board. How do you want to handle the colors by default? If you want, because as you can see, you can use colors for different elements in Redmine. So for issue types, basically for issues, to color tasks that you want to stand out or maybe used by some particular flow, made by priority, how much time is spent, who's assigned, which project the issue is assigned to, and here you can manage colors for so if you're having issue priorities, you can assign them here. How we change them? Basically, just click here and change them. Click save, and you're done. Okay. Here you can use also how do you want which elements do you want to use for estimation of effort needed, whether you want to use hours or story points. Story points comes from Agile methodology. This is used to in an abstract way to express how much effort or time would be required to finish the task. Why this is better? Actually, this is way better than hours, and like in one sentence, because this is more independent. This is more abstract. If you will plan an issue, let's say you have a task, you will plan it. It will take you 2 hours, but this will be planned, for example, by project manager or senior developer, and then on the go, it will be assigned, for example, to junior developer, which who might need more time to finish the task. Then it won't be realistic expectation. And for example, it might happen that you estimated the 2 hours, and your client have the budget calculations for 2 hours of work, but you actually had to spend 5. So either you would lose a lot of money, or your client will be pretty angry that he have to pay double for the items. So the story points, it's more realistic. It's just an item. You can use a story. So basically, you can try to base story points on some hours, so maybe like, let's say half an hour is the story point, but this is kind of cheating. There are different ways you can approach them. The best way is to have incremental way that would show how the how tasks are getting harder to solve or harder to deliver, or maybe they're more complex. If the tasks are too complex, for example, you assume the task will take 20 or 40 story points, or like in our calculations, let's say it will be, I don't know, more than 48 hours of work, maybe more than 20 hours of work, then you have to break it down for smaller issues, for smaller parts. In Agile plugin, so you can assume for which tracker do you want to use story points estimation. We create in this demo, and we also can recommend this. We have separate tracker for user stories. You can define the values, so you can have them inserted on the go in the task planning mode, or you can have them here and they'll be available as like a drop-down list. Next, you can choose which chart you want to see by default. This is not so much required. You can exclude weekends from ideal effort that will be used on the chart. This is pretty useful. Sorry. You can collapse here closed tabs that they won't take too much time on the space or too much space on the board. Let me just show you how it looks right now. The closed cards will take by default the same amount of space like in regular tasks. I will show you how it is changed. Here we can activate creating a task on the go from the Agile board, so you'll be able to, as you can see, add tasks from here. Here activate this, and here also activate the option to add the comments that you can add here. And well, auto signing on the move. If you like, let's activate it here, and let's go to the project. As you see here now, the closed tasks, they are visible only as small cards, so that they don't take too much space, and they're pretty comprehensive. If you hover mouse over, you will see the details. Okay, so now how to actually approach it. So we have our project ready. Let's go back to our new super project. Okay, so we have our team meeting. Let me just create first task. Your first task you always have to create manually from default Redmine interface. You don't have to fill this items. You can fill them later. Now there are two approaches basically. One, if you have already a list of tasks ready, you can just head on, add and list all the tasks to Redmine. Then you head to the planning tool. Here, what you will see is three sections. One is issues without any version, so without any release, without any deadline assigned. And here you have a choice of two containers. Those are the versions that we have created before. Okay, so here we have three versions prepared. One is backlog, so like general list of all tasks, and two sprints. One that we're currently working on, and one for the one would be for the future. As you can see, for the current sprint, there are already issues assigned. If we see that there's too many of them, we can just simply remove them. To plan next release, we can just drag the issues. As you see here at the beginning, we're just planning, we're just dividing the work into releases, into sprints. So in this way, into parts in which they will be later delivered. If you're working on a Kanban, this is not so much necessary. You can, as I mentioned earlier, you can divide them into different parts of backlog. So one, for example, for products, one for services, or like the infrastructure. Once it's ready, you don't have to. You can, if you want to see particular issues, let me just clear them. You can further filter, for example, the issues that are, for example, user stories by tracker, priority. So you can actually use also a custom field that you have created in Redmine. So you don't have to to browse through all the issues that you have in the project. You can focus on selected items. Okay. Once we have our jobs assigned, let's move to the Agile board. Here, like default view is pretty, it's maybe nice, but it's a little bit chaotic. Okay. What you can do, you can fully customize it using filters. You can just zoom it so you can actually see what kind of filters we have. Those are typical Redmine filters and some more. So for example, for assignees, tags, if you have our free tags plugin, relation, dates, You can also use options to further customize it. What you see here, the statuses, so the columns, are actually the issue statuses. Issue statuses, before you will be able to see them on the board, they first have to be added in Redmine and then configured in the workflow. Once they're added, you can select them here. You can have main columns and subcolumns. I will show you how to do this in a while. But basically, what you do, you use status with double dot. So like here, testing to test and testing to test. So that will be one main column with two subcolumns. You can select which information you want to see on the board, actually. We can further divide the board into horizontal spaces using swim lanes. Swim lanes divide them horizontally. So you can divide the board between for project trackers, priority autos, category, and a few other parameters. You can also change the way that cards are colored. Now we apply. As you can see, we can also save our board. So as you see here, now we have main column with two subcolumns. We can save the board, so which lets us to create actually multiple boards for different roles. So we can have one board, for example, just for us, one general for the team, one for managers, maybe one even for the client if he has access to your Redmine. But at the end, I will show you actually how to give an overview, how to show progress on tasks and on the projects without giving your clients access to Redmine. This can be done with our new plugin Reporter. So we can basically save it now the way we want. We can so this can be only ours or can be shared with other people. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can use horizontal lanes. As you see, we have a lot of information that are unnecessary. We just need new in progress, maybe the issues that are already resolved. Okay, now it's better. Yeah, so in this way, you will see tasks, who's working on what and in which progress the issues are currently here. We don't need too much task, we don't need too much information. From here, we can divide the jobs for another team members. So we see, for example, Steven doesn't have too much task, so let's give him something to do. Let him not spend time on Facebook, but on work. Perfect. We can also use this. So in Agile, we have the concept of user stories. So when you have big projects, you divide it in user stories, and each user stories into tasks. User stories describe what you want to achieve by a person and why. So actually, we are. So for example, as a manager, I want to have a better overview who's doing what. So I know, so I can better plan my resources and manage budgeting for projects better. So that would be an idea for user stories. This can be also used for features. So in this case, we use it for, as you see, for different stories for different features, so such as swim lanes or something like this. User stories in Redmine can be created in such a way. So you have a task that's using a tracker user story. And for this task, you have, for this issue, this story, you have assigned subtasks. And here we have an understanding what's the progress on currently in those features. You can have, if you use this all fields board, we have like a lot of information in this board. So depending on what do you actually need, you can have really big overview. On each of those boards, you can have you can create tasks from the board. And so on. Let me now show you. Let's come back to our fresh project, so I can show you how you can approach the project planning in a different way. So one way, as I mentioned earlier, is to use just the planning tool. Another would be just to use to add tasks on the board and use the Agile board to distribute the tasks among people. Okay, let's have clear understanding of the board. Let's save it. We'll call it planning board. Actually, let's give it for all the team members. Okay, and now we can just start adding tasks from the board. So as we are sitting with the team around us, one of the team members have computer open, and we're just adding the task on the go. So let me just put some random content just to have some tasks ready. Okay. Now we can assign the issues just by dragging the people who will be responsible for the task. As we are assigning them, as you see, they're changing. Like we see already who is assigned for the task, and then we can assign the task actually to the. Maybe there's something not in the. Seems that they have some gap in the workflow. So once I have assigned my users, I can move the issues in the progress to in progress to another state. And in this way, I can divide my tasks. If you want, so in the idea of having main projects and sub projects, I want to show you like overall how you can benefit of having this Agile board configured. You can see all issues in your Redmine in one board. You can also use it, for example, to divide items in projects. And in this way, you can, for example, assign them maybe from projects to projects. There's sometimes this kind of scenario that one issue is assigned to one project but actually have to be moved to another one. Let's see one that would be actually visible for you. We can also the only way from a general view for all Redmine, you won't be able to see the list of members. And this is from simple reason, because for different projects, you might have different members. So this is done to avoid the situation when you assign the issue for a member who's not a part of the project. Yeah. Now, what you can do, so do you have any questions for this point? Do you have any questions for the Agile board? Please let me know in the chat section. So actually on your right. Okay, I don't hear any questions. So let's now go to the chart. So for each of your sprint or each of your version or for general approach, you can have thanks to me for the questions. How work in progress limit works on the board. As you can see, maybe you also noticed this in my earlier board. We have here a limit. Those are called work in progress limits. Those are Kanban related. So in Kanban, because you don't have clear deadline for the release, what you do is you focus on working on as little task, actually, or maybe as much task, but in limited time frame. So you focus only on in progress limit. So if you want to have a Kanban board, let's clear it up a little bit. Let me show you a Kanban board. So in this way, you can actually use this. And in each stage, you have this WIP limit, work in progress limit. Work in progress shows information how many items you can have at once in each status. So to avoid that you have too many tasks in progress, you can use this limit. Let's just put some numbers. Now, as you see, I see how many tasks are in each stage and how many are maximum. What will happen once I add the task, as is here in progress stage? When I put too much tasks, the system will not find me that the limit is my limit is reached, and I will see the column in red. I mean, I can still add the task, but this will be visible also in the task that I'm having too much in my flow at one point. Yes, you can. So as Laurel asked, how to log time. You can use basically functionality. You can actually also edit tasks on the go. Sorry, let me just go for some smaller, my own board. You can use context menu actually to edit issues. So you can change the status from here as well. You can add tags, change color. You can also log time from here. And of course, change SNE, maybe change target version, change priority tracker, and so on. Okay, now let's move to the charts. So charts can be approached from the board. One more cool thing: if you have too much task, sorry, you can use full screen version. If you use any of the horizontal lanes, you can also collapse them. So let's say, just don't use colors for a second. So if you still have some lines, as you see, it helps us a little bit, but not too much. We can also always collapse them and then open the ones that are interesting for us, so we can work on those. Okay. It's also cool that you see the last comment that's also done here. So if you need any feedback, you don't have to go to the issue page. You can use comment from here. And we see this comment here. You can use, for swim lane, so for this horizontal division, you can use this the items that are like Redmine specific. So those are those kind of filters that you see right now. Actually, let me just take a look. I lost for a second. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, because actually I just noticed that you don't see when I'm opening the menu, you don't see this. So this can be project, tracker, priority, author, category of task, target version, parent task if you're having issues with subtasks use or assignee. Right now, I would, Laura, regarding your question about mentioning, we can actually test it if we'll be able to. So currently mentioning on the board, it's not possible, but when we'll add comment, the email will be sent now in this issue. As you see, this is already updated. So if the person is assigned as, on this issue as a watcher or as an assignee for the system, so this guy, in this case, he will receive a notification that there was comment added to the task. Okay, so charts. Charts can be approached from the roadmap section. if you go to the version, in our case, for example, sprint, you can see the chart for a particular sprint shown here. By default, we have actually we have 11 types of different charts, but there are few categories. One is burn down, which shows you how many, depending on the idea. So we have issue burn down, which shows you how many tasks are actually closed in a given timeline, so in a given sprint. You can use this also for story points to show the effort for hours, to actually how much hours were reported as estimated and how much hours were actually reported as work. So, sorry, how many hours were reported as spent on the issues. You can also like revert the chart and have burn up chart to show how many like issues were, for example, closed in incremental order. What we see here, so here's like the ideal line, how it should look, because we, as you see here, the deadline is a little bit moved. So we're already after the schedule. That's why the ideal line works. So the trend line looks like this. It's so sharp. So we're already late. Next, you have an cumulative flow. Cumulative flow chart shows you how many issues were reported in each of the statuses. By default, what you want to see is at the beginning, as you see, for example, the new issues grow, like rise pretty fast. So there were a lot of new issues reported at the beginning of the chart. And ideally, they should like be closed as the sprint or as the release follows. And you want to see more of the resolved and closed issue statuses here at the end. We have also velocity. Velocity shows you how many, actually what's the speed of your working. So how many issues were created in a given time and how many issues were closed. What you want to see here is the decreasing amount of issues that were created and increased number of issues that were closed in this in a given time frame. Late time shows time from the issue, from the creating, not from the start date. So from the time the issue was actually created in Redmine till the moment that it's created as done, and by assigning 100 by using 100% of done, so the issues actually received status closed or resolved, and issue was done in 100%. You can also take a look at the average lead time for the trackers and for cumulative flow for all the trackers. So how many issues were reported in each tracker. So basically, if you want to follow the Scrum version, you most of the time use charts that are Scrum specific. The most popular and the most often used one is burn down chart, and usually depends on the estimates either for hours or for story points burn down. So this actually looks pretty good. Here on the chart, I want to also tell you that you will see spikes. I mean, here's not so much spikes and flats. Flats, it's in the periods when your team is just working on the issues, but they're not closing them. So obviously, like they cannot change. As you see here, as the days were, the day goes by, people were working and finishing the tasks. That's why this chart looks so nicely. The spikes that you might see will appear when you add some new tasks on the go. That will also keeps a good history that even though your team, for example, might have working on completing the issues, but because someone from management or client or I don't know, project manager, product manager, they put things to your stack, so you were not able, your team might not be able to deliver them on time. So for sprint, that would be burn down, velocity to show you how many also how many issues were reported, closed, and basically cumulative flow to show you how many issues in each statuses what were the statuses of the task. For Kanban metrics, we have two charts. One is lead time, to have understanding what's the average time to actually to close the issues, and also cumulative flow. So either regular or for the trackers if you're working in a Kanban. For example, if you're working in Kanban applying Kanban methodology to a software project, you might use tracker cumulative flow to track what kind of issues were your team working on. So whether there were maybe features, maybe bugs, or other kind of assignments. If you're working, for example, in support, this will help you to guide, for example, what kind of issues are you currently working on. Because actually, you can use this Agile, the board, and the methodology also for other projects. For example, we in our team, in our company, we have Redmine hosting, Redmine Cloud. This is Redmine hosted in the cloud with all our plugins and with support and maintenance. So it's pretty good product for people who just started with Redmine, or they just need Redmine with plugins already, maybe for a project, maybe for a client, or they just don't want to spend too much on maintenance. And for this, for support, we use Agile boards also for support projects. For support in this way, we have understanding of how much, so which issues are in which status, and it's easy for us to track the performance of the support manager using the chart. So we see how much time it takes us to close issues, how many issues were reported, how many issues were closed, and so on. Okay. Let me now ask you, do you have any questions actually? Which part would you like that I tell you maybe more? Maybe should I come back to some part? Let me know in the chat section on your right. You can also use, if you are planning, actually how to approach planning. A few ideas that we and our clients most of the time use. Those are planning poker activities. Those are Agile specific and Scrum specific activities. One is called planning poker, when you have basically cards with the numbers of story points. You distribute them among team members. Each one of them, when you go for the task by task, actually how the planning looks for Agile. So once you have closed last sprint, or just in the beginning of maybe opening a new sprint, you prepare. First thing you do is you prepare a backlog of the items. Then you go through this backlog. What it means, you check if the items, so if the tasks are assigned as a stories. So they're not just like set up server. This can be also tasks, but maybe stories this way. For example, like this way, for example, here, customize cards on the board, so the users will be able, for example, to use them. You discuss notes, if there are any notes assigned for a task. You discuss the acceptance criteria. Those are business criteria. So the criteria which would be applied by manager to say whether the tasks are accomplished or not. This is not this is different from the definition of closing the tasks for developers. For developers, once he done his part, this is then he can close the issue. But maybe for business it's not so simple. Then you estimate complexity, so you assign either the hours, like you can see here in the top corner, or story points. Actually, I didn't show you. Here in the status, if you're using story points, you will see total amount of story points in each of the, for all the tasks in each column, in each state. And once you have this done, if the details are described with enough details that you can start working on issues, you can just define goal. So what would be the ideal state when you want to close the sprint and start working? So I get the question. If you're using versions to control sprints, how to manage final version of the ticket? You can use a few ways. One would be to use tags. So you can assign, you can actually group your tasks with tags. So for example, here, let's say you have this version 3.5. So add this, basically, once you have this tasks, the tags for issues, you can use them from the section here on the right section, in the right, like in this way, in typical Redmine theme, in the right, you will see all the tasks assigned, sorry, all the issues, all the tasks assigned with this match with this tag. It is also used by our clients to like segregate for which product, which release the tasks are assigned for. We also use this way. So for example, I guess I can give you like a short overview actually of our development board. Let me just find it. So another way would be to use issues. In this way, you create mine issue. Let's say, in this way, let's imagine that within one sprint or one Redmine version, you're working on a few projects or a few software. So either you can manage them in different sub-projects. In main development project, you can have different sub-projects for different products, and assign like the task for the version, or you can have, let's say here, so let's say we have SCRUM version 3.5. This is our parent task. And we will add our other issues as sub-tasks for this one. If you want to be more granular for each one, so for each of these tasks, you can have, you can assign subtasks as well. Sorry, I think I can too high. Actually, you can approach the same way to manage epics. Epics in Redmine, epics in basically in Agile. This is used as a theme. As you see here, we still have understanding of where this task refers to. Epic can be used, for example, to describe a kind of activity or kind of project. So, for example, if you're working on a software, let's say you're doing some software product. So Epic can be, it's like a bundling of user stories. So Epic can be, for example, design. Epic would be designing a new, so like redesigning our corporate page. That would be Epic. And within Epic, you can have different user stories. So one user story will be that people who are looking for a, let's say, new product, they would be, they want to use search function, so they don't have to go through all our service portfolio. They can just save time by using the search bar. Or maybe we apply some nice navigation. That could be user story. And for each user story, so for example, for this search, we have one to the task, for example, to create script that would actually go parse the list of services and give it output. Actually, as for the search, you can also use the search here to show the tasks. So as you start typing, will highlight the one that match the result. Gutenberg, regarding your question, if you want to have evolution metric for all my projects, could you maybe specify what you mean by evolution metrics. If you want to see like how your how all like to see progress in all of your projects, you can creating this by creating you can achieve this by creating one parent project and having another as sub project. Because for main projects, you can have the chart for that would include also the data from sub projects if you'll use such a setting. So Laura, regarding your questions, yes, that's the burn down chart or burn up, like, but by default it's burn down. This shows you what was the let me just show on the story points. Sorry, I think it's just showing general stats. Let me just track it, filter this down to by the way, you can if you have sprint, actually you can select the date here. If you want to show either for a specific period of the time, or so for a particular period, or you can assume a date range where you can actually select dates for them to see only the task, like to see the progress on the tasks like done, let's say only this week. We choose version here. Okay, let's take a look. Do we have any real data? So what you would see here would be something close to here. So here's the amount of story points or hours of that are estimated, because those are estimates. Here on the y-axis, you see the estimate, and here it's like those what you see here is actually remaining time that should be delivered to the date. Laurel, you ask if you can link issues or tasks. Do you mean on the board or? You can create tasks on the board. Yeah. If you want to duplicate issue, you would have to copy this either from issue page, and basically leave the issue parameters as they are. Or basically use the issue list. Actually, what I wanted to show you is if when you have issue, that's a pretty good idea when you have repetitive tasks. Let's say I don't know, configuring production environment, sorry, testing environment or test environment. You already have time estimated here, and you already done this task. You can copy this because you have already this data, so like estimated time spent. It will be better for you to make corrections and have like a better estimates for current time. When you copy, if you have any checklist to sign, actually, if you're using any checklist, and if you have them assigned to the task, and this as well with tags, even if they are updated, even if like there's some story behind the checklist, you will copy the issue. By default, it copies the issue, the checklist itself. So you can as well edit it like save some time. And regarding your questions, that I assume would be another plugin. We're just working on a plugin. It's called Resources. It will help you in resources allocation. But actually, because I'm just using a demo, and someone just have cleaned all our all our like demo tasks. Let me take a look if I have them available, maybe in our cloud demo or in my backend. Please give me a second. And meanwhile, I would appreciate if you have any questions. Actually, for those of you who are ready to go, if you are interested in purchasing the full version of Agile plugin, I want to give you a coupon for 20% discount. Sorry to say, but let me just find it because I have opened a window here. No, actually, resource planning it would be a separate plugin. Right now, this is a beta. It's in beta version, so it's available for testing in our demo. This is demo.redmineup.com. I know that you don't. Sorry that you don't see anything, but I'm just trying to open the resources in a backend, hopefully to be able to recover some data from our database. But I'm afraid that someone has just wiped out the data. Okay, actually, yes, I have good news for you. I was able to I'm able to show you some another show you some data from the backend. How would it actually how does it actually looks like? So yeah, what you see here in a Gantt-like chart, you see users, which you can collapse and like hide on or open. For each one of them, you see a project that they're assigned for and task that the task that is assigned for them. Here you see what's the workload for each of the person, whether there is an underload. This is actually regular tasks. If you can also see like regular time, so the person worked for all scheduled time. If the person worked over, so you scheduled 4 hours, or you estimated a task to take 4 hours, but it took you. So it took. Oh, sorry, because I just noticed that. Yeah. Now you can see this. Sorry, guys. Let me just fine tune it. Yeah. Now you can see some details what I'm talking about. So you see here in a Gantt-like chart, you see users. For each of the users, you see projects that they are assigned for and tasks that are assigned for. Here you see the bookings, tasks that people are working on currently. Here you see this is tasks that's assigned to work on. Here you see just assignment. So for example, here person was scheduled for have 4 hours of work ready, but only was like scheduled to work for 1 hour. You can also see underload, overload for the people. You can filter those by assignees, projects, or particular tasks. Here, if this is only for one project, it won't give you too much data. You can hide or show some additional items. Laurel, yes, our plugins are compatible with Redmine 4.0. So so what I actually want to mention that our plugins, they don't modify the Redmine core functionality. They are extension. So for example, plugins by another company, Easy Software, they change and they modify the Redmine elements, such as issue for help desk and so on. Our plugins are just an extension. So in case that you already have an existing Redmine instance, let's say issue list, even if you add the Agile plugin or resources plugin, they won't modify, and after a while, let's say you delete them, they don't modify, they don't make unreversible changes in the code. Also, our code is, as a code of Redmine, it's open. So if you have some developers, for example, you can make the changes in the code. You can modify it for your needs. Let me just show you, because I don't have permissions in the backend, how like a booking looks. So as you see, you can make booking for your resources for people, for example. You can select project, person that refers to. You can select issues, for example, here, whether the issues are assigned, not assigned to the person. Sorry. Select start and date not required, hours per day. So let's say for an hour Agile plugin, we take, which is this guy, which is actually me. And I will assume that I should work for at least 3 hours per day, starting from, say, from last for a week. And I can add some comment here. As you here shows me actually, here I see the date, like the how much time in total I would spend, scheduled dates. As you see, because here it's 3 day, it takes data from what I saw in the beginning from the calendar, so it doesn't take into account the 3 days. If I will, for example, let me just open the issue in the meanwhile and put that I work, for example, need for a lot of time, just for sake of showing you how it works. As you see, we have also some limitations. You can also you can also configure basically the details, how much time is available for each of the people in the in the user section. Now let's go back to resources. Sorry, this is demo, so it's just it didn't update. Yes, sorry, the coupon, yes. Let me just open my note. Please hold on for 1 more second, okay? Yeah. So the coupon code is copied and used in the during the checkout. It's valid for till the end of February. So even if you want to test, maybe you want to actually we have a light free version of Agile plugin available on our page. If you go to basically if you go to our page and to Agile plugin section, you can download it. Just give your email and we'll send you the link will be sent automatically to download the version, so we can use it in your own environment and test some limited functionality, but still we can see how it works. Laura, I just saw that you sent me one more question. If we have a resource that is working both production and new project. You're welcome, Gutenberg. Guys, if you would have any more questions, you can always come back to me to my email. It's Greg@RedmineUP. You can also catch me on Telegram, on Skype. So Anne, about your questions, the resources, this is a model that have to be, so here in resources, like in overview that I'm showing you right now, this is for all the projects that the module is available for. You can activate this for different projects. So in this way, it would be for production fixes and new projects. So for example, for your development, for new development projects, for your, let's say, ongoing support, so this fixes project. And it will take into consideration the information that is put in Redmine for those projects. The final release of resource plugin is currently we plan it somewhere for February. Like the plugin, we're just closing we're making polishes for the last features. Welcome. Okay, do you have any more questions? Actually, I promise you that I will show you how to use, actually how to show progress on tasks to your clients. This is another plugin. We will release a webinar about this plugin soon. So for now, I can just show you how we can use it. This basically, it generates reports from issues, so from tasks. It can have any way that you want it. You can have cards. It can be used for planning, like to put on your offline physical board with the task. You can have like typical report with information. It can include notes. It can include time. It can take. It can do also some mathematical operations. So you can take, for example, time spent multiplied by user rate and have hour that would be used for. Sorry, it can be used for billings for your clients. Just to give you an idea, is actually it can also be used to generate reports in let's say like a printout report with some header, footer, taking some data. It can use stylings. It can be used also to generate invoices, payrolls. Let me just show another idea. So here it takes issue list multiplied by rate that I obtain here. Rate can be fixed, rate can be assigned per user. So depending on the user who was, for example, assigned, it can take different rates, and those data will be hidden. They can be visible, they can be hidden. It's your wish or your need. And create here information for total cost for each of the plugin, you can code actually everything. So you can add here information from your clients. You can use custom fields. You can use like default Redmine functionality. Okay, guys. I promise it will take around an hour. I already surpassed it, so I don't want to take any more of your time. If you have any questions, like final closing questions, please. I would be happy to answer them. If not, thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate that you attend our webinar. If you have any questions or you need any advice, reach out to me and I will help you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Elaine. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your attention. Have a great day or a great evening if you're hearing to me from Europe. Till next webinar. Actually, about resources webinar, we'll have some more, we'll have separate webinar coming soon, I guess within 1 or 2 weeks as well, if you would like to see some other plugins. So stay tuned. Bye.